And I would really appreciate it if you would stop Rob Taylor from blathering on and on.
Opinions expressed by talk show hosts, callers, or guests on the Rob Taylor Report do not necessarily represent the opinions of the hosting platform, subsidiaries, sponsors, or possibly anyone else on the planet or the known universe. From the tinfoil and lead-lined broadcast bunker on the beautiful southern coast of Oregon, it's the Rob Taylor Report. So strap yourself in. Your weekly political therapy session is about to begin. Ladies and gentlemen, here he is, the nearly famous Rob Taylor.
Hey, Coos County. Hey, Oregon. America and beyond, East Coast, West Coast, we're here to please. And you're joining the Rob Taylor Report. I'm just going to take the show wherever it goes. And if you want to chime in, you're more than welcome. If you're listening on YouTube, you can make comments on YouTube. Unfortunately, if you're listening or watching on Twitter or on Rumble, for some reason, their comments, they're not advanced enough to have those comments show up on my page for my feed. It's I use StreamYard, and for some reason, their comments don't show up Twitter and YouTube. So it's just one of those situations. But I want to thank you all for joining me. I want to send out a personal thank you. I was at the Citizens Restoring Liberty event, and one of my good friends, I'll mention his alias. His alias is James McHenry, and he got me a really cool book, The Hangman's Call. This is about all the lynchings, the executions and lynchings in Coos County, Oregon from 1854 to 1925. Very interesting book. And of course, Law on the Bay, Coos County Sheriff's Office, 1854 to 1897. I don't know if they made a one that went past 1897, but I'll tell you what, those are two books I have been looking forward to reading for a long time. And I'm going to check out Andy E. Jensen is the author of both those books, and he writes a lot of local history. I need to get him on the show. I seriously need to get him on the show. I think it would be very interesting. So I want to thank you, James McHenry. That was a very nice gift. I appreciate it so much. And, you know, I love it when people do things like that. And I really don't know how to express it other than saying thank you very much. I had a very interesting weekend. For the weekend, it was a rainy and kind of a cold weekend, but I went to Citizens Restoring Liberty on Friday, and we had, I don't know, I'd say 50 or 60 people, and it was a pretty good entertainment that happened there. But before I continue any further with talking about my weekend, I've got to bring on one of my sponsors because I got to find out what's happening with Ware's 3H Tree Service. And joining me right now is Matt Holman. Matt, how you doing, man?
Good, Rob. How are you?
Not too bad. I don't recognize the place you're at. Where the heck are you?
I'm down at my office.
Nice.
Not in a tree.
Not in a tree. You were in a tree earlier, I'm sure, right?
Oh yeah.
I'm willing to bet you're ready for this weather to change. It must really suck to be up 70 feet in the air when the wind and rain and such.
It's awful. And they said there was supposed to be a little bit of rain today, and then it came in by the bucket loads, and the wind was howling. It's rough. I'm over it. That fall spring we had was pretty nice. Things were drying out. It was warm. Everybody was in a good mood. And now we're back to cloudy weather and grumpy crew.
Cloudy weather and grumpy crew. That's not a good combination. It's not a good.
Not that good.
I highly recommend whiskey. Medicinal whiskey might be. I don't know. That's probably a
At
bad
8 in the
idea.
morning, that's awesome. Yeah,
8 in the
we do
morning.
that.
With guys with chainsaws and climbing ladders. That's what you want to do. Geez. So did you get a winner yet? I noticed you posted on Facebook.
I haven't got a winner yet.
So we can send people over to where you have the banner up, right?
Yep.
All
Down at the shop.
right. So down at the shop, if you're the first one at the shop, you can collect $50. We're starting the round. Today's round of 3H Where's 3H Tree Service has started, and we're gonna have to figure this out. Like I said, I think what we'll do is we'll start posting this on Facebook as an event every Monday, and then when it doesn't happen on a Monday, we'll just pull the event, and we'll go with that. You can't just shake your head, say something.
Okay. I don't, when I was working a full-time job during the day and we were starting at 1 or 2 in the afternoon, it worked out really good to coincide with your show. But now it's a little more difficult. My guys want to go home at 3. And so we'll start trying to post stuff, around noon maybe, and start giving clues as to where we're at. And then hopefully we've got a winner, and then I can tell you on the show, or I'll come on and we can, I don't know. We'll figure something out, Rob, but I appreciate your patience and all this.
Not a problem. It's, when you do a live show and it's, I'm still fairly new and getting used to this stuff. I expected all this to happen. It's just something that is just going to occur. So, no problems, man. No problems whatsoever. We'll get it figured out. And I think we've had winners so far, right? You had a winner last week and the week before. So,
Oh yeah. People are more than willing to come out of the woodwork and get cash.
I heard the last one.
It's just us holding still long enough for them to be able to find us.
Yeah, that's the problem. That's a problem, but it shouldn't take long. We've got quite a few. We got right now on YouTube alone, we got 8 viewers. Woo, 8 viewers. I'm big time now. And so, hopefully some of them are watching. So get over to the shop, 3H Tree Services shop. You're the first one to arrive. Find Matt, and you win the $50. And that's pretty damn easy. I don't know how much more we could do that. And by the way, if you're a known criminal, you cannot win. If you're a family member or someone who is contracted with 3H Tree Service, you cannot win. If you've won in the last 30 days, you cannot win. So those are just some of the criteria that you have to meet to be a winner. And there will only be one winner, and the round is over as soon as you find Matt Holman. Oh boy. So did you just go hunting? Did I see somewhere where you were just hunting?
No, fishing. Last Saturday, I went out fishing in the bay. We caught a couple salmon. I think they were the first 2 in the county caught. So they're running now. I'm trying to get with old Doug Washington and get a night trip out fishing here pretty soon. I like that guy, and hopefully he can teach me a thing or two. And no, we're trying to take a little bit of leisure time too, since I'm not working 2 full-time jobs now. But man, there's a whole lot to do. The weather hasn't been awesome, and the winds. Yesterday even, I got an emergency call yesterday. I had to go take a tree off of a shed because the wind had broke it off. So it's still nasty out there.
Yeah, I mean, when I used to have this big cherry tree out in my front yard, and it's gone because it eventually rotted and it just fell over. But you would sit there on a windy day and you just watch it go back and forth, and you're wondering at what point does it take out the corner awning of my house. And so I bet you get those. How many times do you get those emergency calls? Because I imagine in Oregon, that's something that happens, right?
I think we've had half a dozen this year so far, and we're trying to get right on them. I feel bad for people. The one tree ripped half a house off, and so it was storming, and their stuff was getting all wet inside. So we got the tree off and got a tarp up, and did the best we could to help them out. And there's more out there, I'm sure of it. People just don't realize that there's hazards around their house, and so if if you want us to come take a look for you, we'd love to. We can do a walk around, kind of give you an idea of what we're looking at, what you're looking at, and hopefully come to a resolution, some kind of a plan to make things better for you. They're beautiful. Trees are awesome, and I'm glad that we have a whole bunch of them around, but sometimes just they're not in the right place.
They can be dangerous. They can be those Antifa trees. You never know. Those Antifa trees out there, you got to take a few of them out because they're a liability. They're disease infested, you don't want to get too close to them, but you guys are professionals and you handle it quite well. And I've always been impressed with your work. And if anyone wants to see videos of Matt doing his job, go to 3H Tree Services Facebook page, and Matt, keep posting those videos. Keep posting those videos because those are really cool.
Yep, will do.
You got it. Hey, let me ask you, just out of my own curiosity's sake, when you're up in one of those bucket trucks, how much wind can you stand? I mean, at what point do you say, screw it, I'm out of here?
So I've looked up OSHA guidelines, and I can't really find anything that they say, but I know if it's 25 or 30 miles an hour, we're not having fun. Then you can't control anything, and it ain't good. Anything over 25 miles an hour, we're probably going to call it a day.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I don't blame you one bit. I was just curious how bad it had to get. So I knew you would know the answer to that. I will let me know if someone wins and gets out there, and we'll let people know and stop the round. And I will get back to me if you want. If you want to pop back in, you're more than welcome.
Oh. Okay, will do, Rob. Thanks.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
All right. That was Matt from 3H Tree Service. So where was I? Oh, yes. I was talking about the Citizens Restoring Liberty meeting. We had about 50, or they had about 50 or 60 people show up to the church on Friday night. And it was a really great meeting. We got to listen to the sheriff talk about the tax levy. And he's doing his best selling the levy. I do not begrudge him wanting to increase the taxes because I understand his need for that. And I understand his position. I completely, I empathize with him. I know it's not a good situation. I empathize with the commissioners. However, I myself, I don't agree with the tax levy, and I am opposed to it, and I'm not going to be voting for it. I'm not going to tell you how to vote, though. It's up to you. I can only tell you why I'm not voting, and I'm just one of those who, we're going to get into the discussion a little bit later into the show, why I don't think it's going to do a damn bit of good to give the sheriff any more money. And that was one of the discussions that came up at this Citizens Restoring Liberty meeting. Chris Castleman was there. Todd Vaughn was there. Todd Vaughn did an excellent job. He told the story about mushrooms, and he really delivered it. He related the story of picking mushrooms and picking poisonous mushrooms to what's happening when you send legislators who are willing to compromise to Salem, and how you can take something that's poisonous and contaminate everything else because the poison transfers to everything else. And you got to be careful with those things. So Todd did a great job. Then Monique Despain was up there, and she's running, I believe it was for the 4th district. I kind of, I liked Monique, but there was something that happened that really bothered me. I was filming Chris Castleman because he asked me to film him. I was using his camera and I was filming him, and I don't normally film the meetings because they themselves film those Citizens Restoring Liberty meetings. So I didn't film. So while I was filming Chris, I saw Monique walk up to Rod Taylor, who conducts the meeting, and she whispered something into his ear, and she walked off, and he came up to me after Chris was through speaking. He says, "Hey, you didn't plan on filming Monique Despain." And I said, "No, I don't have any plans." Oh, good. Okay. And he walked off. And then when she got up to speak, he gave the sign to the guy who runs the camera to cut the filming. And I don't know. I kind of now have a problem with some politicians who will go to a meeting, a public meeting, and not want to be filmed. What was she saying at the meeting that she wasn't telling everybody else? Don't you find that suspicious? I find that highly suspicious. And we'll be talking about Monique Despain a little bit later when we're going over the voters pamphlet. But I just thought it was very weird that she decided to cut off every availability to be in transparent. She wasn't very transparent at all. And that's something I request from all my politicians, transparency. You know, I've made a lot of screw ups in my life. I've made mistakes, and yet I have never had a problem with people filming me and or recording me when I'm at meetings. You know, maybe not when I'm in the restroom doing my business or I'm at home privately. No, I don't like to be filmed then. But you know what I mean? When you're at a public meeting or a public event, why would you demand that people stop filming you? I mean, I don't say anything to one group that I don't say to another group. I'm pretty consistent when I talk to people. So I thought that was just very strange. So that was happening Friday night. And then Saturday night, there's Diane Rich. We had about a dozen people at the event in Gold Beach and in Brookings to protest. It was a rally. We were rallying the troops who are opposed to the wind turbines. We are seriously against these wind turbines. Bohm is trying to bring them in, and we just would like to make sure that they don't come in. And one of the ways that we are doing this is that we wanted to put pressure on the people who are leasing those areas. Rod just wrote me. He says it's not a public meeting. She didn't want anything out there for the opposition to take out of context. Well, Rod, I disagree with you. You invited the public to that meeting. It's your private meeting for your group, but you invited the public. And once again, I find it weird that a politician wouldn't want to be filmed. So that was Rod talking about the last issue with Monique Despain. But here's the protest, the picture of the protest. This was in Brookings on the corner right across from Fred Meyer next to the grocery outlet, and a lot of traffic, a lot of thumbs up. It was really good. It was a really good event. And this lady showed up. She just stopped. She pulled in and said, "Hey, can I have a sign? Can I protest? I'm protesting the windmills." And I said, "Sure, that'd be great. That'd be great to have you in there and helping us out." There were a couple of other people who showed up and wanted to help us protest as well. And so we're going to be doing that. We're having it in May. I think it's May 18th. I can't remember the actual date, but it's a little bit of a ways off. We had to schedule it that way because of all the events are happening, but I believe it's going to be on Saturday, May 18th. We're going to do it once again here in Coos Bay. I'm in Bandon. We're going to do it in Coos Bay, and we're going to do it here in Bandon. And we definitely want to have people come out. So I'll be advertising that. You'll see that on Facebook. I'll be putting up an event for that. We've got posters going up. There were posters on several different businesses. And so this is something that we have to do to encourage the businesses who want to lease those call areas, to make them realize this is not publicly popular. And we have to let everyone know out there that this is a project that is coming into Southern Oregon, and you got to be prepared for that. Make no delusion in your mind that we are stopping anything. All we're doing is protesting to notify the public and to put a little bit of public pressures on those private companies who are going to lease those call areas. And we want them to know that this is going to be a publicity problem for them. And the only way to do that is to have protests. And those protests hopefully will work in our benefit to, stop some of these companies from renting those or leasing those call areas. And once there's a really nice picture right there. No windmills, not economical, not efficient, not green, not recyclable, not wildlife friendly, not for the south coast of Oregon. And that's one of our posters. And we have signs that look like that just as well. I think the sign said no wind turbines because that's the correct terminology of that. But when we were making them, I just put up no windmills because most people relate the turbines to the windmills. But in fact, they are wind turbines. And in fact, if they were windmills and they were on land and they were, being used for private uses, they probably would work. I know Chris Castleman, who lives off the grid, he's running for commissioner. He actually has he has a windmill. And so, people have used them for thousands and thousands of years. Maybe not that long, but it's long time humans have been using windmills and wind power. And we just don't think that the wind turbine project off the southern coast is going to work. It's a bad idea. And so we're just opposing that. There is a meeting. I want to get this right out up front because this is important. The BOC, the Board of Commissioners here in Coos County, they're going to have a work session talking about the structures and county right-of-ways. It's happening at the Oaks Pavilion, Coos County. And I think the county has pretty much, the commissioners have really changed the direction on the way they were going. And if you don't know where the Oaks Pavilion is, it's at the fairgrounds in Myrtle Point. And this will be happening at 6:30 p.m. on Thursday. I don't know why I have 1:30 p.m. on Tuesday on the bottom there. Sorry, it's actually at 6:30 p.m. Thursday, and it's happening on May 2nd. And this is at the fairgrounds at Myrtle Point. I messed up the lettering at the bottom here. My screw up. See, I make mistakes. I'm only human. That's going to happen. So I encourage all of you to get out there because this is very important. If you live in rural Oregon, if you live in the unincorporated areas of the county regulates the easements off your property. And if you go against what the ordinances are in the county, you could find yourself facing a fine. Right now, I think they put a moratorium on fines, but your fence, you got to repair your fence. I think there was a $150 permit process of that. I don't know what they've done with it. I don't know where the laws are. And that's why I'm going to be at this meeting. And this is a work session, and we're going to be talking about those easements and county right of way. And this is happening at the fairgrounds in Myrtle Point, 6:30 p.m. Thursday, May 2nd, 2024. Of course, this year. What other year would they hold it, right? Right? Okay. So one of the things that we were talking about at the Citizens Restoring Liberty meeting was the sheriff showed up, and he was talking about the levy and how that would alleviate some of the problems that we are having in the county. But this is where I disagree with him. And this is what I kept saying at one of the League of Women Voters forum, is that the system has been sabotaged. The system has been seriously sabotaged by the feds and by the state legislators. And I don't think that no matter how much money we give the sheriff, how much money we give the DA, I don't think it's going to matter, because the laws are set up right now so that criminals get away. They get off scot-free. They're getting away with so much today. And we have a broken, and it's not broken, it's been sabotaged. And that's what a lot of people have been saying, is that we have a broken justice system. No, it's been sabotaged, and it's been sabotaged deliberately by the Oregon legislature and by what the feds are doing with the different bureaucracies. And what ticks me off is that the law has been turned on its head. And in fact, going back to that Citizens Restoring Liberty meeting, there was a gentleman who runs the camera and the sound system who was talking about how he had a squatter situation where his life was being threatened. He had to call the sheriff's departments or the police several times. He had to call Coos Health and Wellness several times. He's talking dozens of times that he had to call these places to try to get them to do something about the guy who was squatting at his residence, and he couldn't get him out. And, I don't know. I'm old fashioned. And I tell you what, you come into my house and you start squatting, you don't have to worry about the law, because no one's going to ever know you were here. That's right. You're just going to disappear. And so that's how I personally would take care of a squatter. And I know people are going, "Oh, Rob, you're justifying crime. You're justifying breaking the law." And no, I'm not. I'm justifying defending your private property. And that's what we lost in this country, the ability to defend ourselves, the ability to defend our private property, to defend our family. And, you see people today who are being prosecuted, who, I forget the gentleman on the subway who restrained a man who was going after people on the subway. And could you imagine, you're on a subway, it's nothing but a tube, and you've got crazy people on there with you, and the crazy person is threatening you with a knife or some type of weapon. And if you defend yourself or defend anyone else against this crazy person, and he happens to die because, well, that happens when you restrain people sometimes. Just ask George Floyd. Just ask him. And, well, you can't. He's dead. Why? Because he got restrained, because he needed it. And so there are people out there who are afraid to defend themselves anymore because the law has been turned upside down. And of course, they don't want to defend themselves because they don't want to end up in jail. And that's why you've got people who don't act anymore. They don't act on crime. They don't protect themselves. They don't protect their property. And that's why this gentleman was trying to get the law enforcement to do something about it. And the sad part is no matter how much money we give the sheriffs, no matter how much money we give the DA, that situation that he described would not change if the levy passes. You pass the levy and you give the money to the DA and you give it to the sheriff's department. Guess what? That squatting situation, it wouldn't change one bit. I'll give you another example, Mingus Park. In Mingus Park, you can go down there. It's hit or miss. You can go down there and you will run into homeless people who are acting absolutely insane. They're very threatening. They're very aggressive. And you are always having to worry that if you defend yourself against these people, that you're the one who's going to get in trouble. In fact, Chris Castleman told a story about how he was, there was a gentleman following a couple who was screaming behind him, yelling and screaming. And he tried to stop the gentleman from yelling and screaming at this couple by getting between them. And he was punched in the face. And see what you get for your trouble. And I don't know, I get punched in the face. I'm going to do something about it. I hit back. But Chris, he's up for election. He's a commissioner. And before he hit back, he thought about it and decided to restrain himself because he didn't want to end up in a newspaper or worse yet in jail as the aggressor attacking a homeless person, because that's how they spin it today. That's how the law has been turned upside down. So the Supreme Court, and takes me to the point of the article that's on the screen now. The Supreme Court has this case where they're going to decide, they're deliberating over the fictional right to housing. And that's what we've created in this country. We've created all these different rights for all these different groups that they shouldn't have these rights because they're privileges. They're privileges and they're not rights at all. And in fact, if someone has to provide it for you, it's not a right. It's not a right. It's something you have to go out and earn. You have to go out and earn it yourself. And property, you don't have a right to have a house. You have a right to go purchase a house. You have a right to go work your ass off and rent a room, but you have no right to demand the rest of us give you housing. And yet the leftists, who are Marxist, who are communists, they believe that the state should provide this imaginary right to provide you with housing. I'm going to read this. This is from an article. This is from the Federalist. And I've had people on the Federalist, from the Federalist publication on the show, but this is from the Federalist. And it says, SCOTUS deliberates over homeless camps and a fictional right to housing. And they got it right, because if you read all the other articles out there by other mainstream media, they're completely spinning this argument like it's something that's just the opposite. Like I said, that somehow we owe these people housing. But it says there is nothing in the text or history of the cruel and unusual punishments clause that remotely grants anyone a right to public housing. And that's true. All throughout our history, as a country, throughout history of humankind, there have been homeless people. There have been people who choose to be homeless because they don't want to live up to the standards of the society that they're living in. And if they want to do that, that's fine, but they have no right to ask me or anyone else to provide them a home. And I'm going to read you a couple of paragraphs from the article that was part of the article that's on that, from that picture that's on the screen right now. It says, do the homeless have a right to live on public property? In 2018, the U.S. Courts of Appeals for the Ninth Circuit ruled that they do. You know, it's because the Ninth Circuit is insane. They're freaking insane. But today, however, with growing homeless encampments commonplace in many cities, the U.S. Supreme Court will hear oral arguments on Monday in a case that will reevaluate the question. In City of Grants Pass versus Johnson, the Ninth Circuit held that the Eighth Amendment's cruel and unusual punishments clause prohibits a state from using its criminal or civil law to prevent the homeless from sleeping on public property unless there is an indoor bed space available from non-sectarian parties that every such person can use to sleep, which is ridiculous. They're demanding us to give these people a bed and a place over their head. That's not, I don't live to, and I know you don't live to work your ass off every day to provide housing and a bed for someone else. I continue. In essence, the Ninth Circuit read that clause to grant the homeless a right to live on public property until the government creates adequate housing for them, which in tantamount to saying that the homeless have a constitutional right to public housing. The Supreme Court should categorically reject the gross distortion of the Constitution and reverse the Ninth Circuit's opinion. For starters, nothing, and we mean nothing, in the text or history of the Cruel and Unusual Punishments Clause remotely grants anyone a right to public housing. The text refers only to punishment for a crime. Keeping anyone, including the homeless, from sleeping on public property is not remotely a punishment. It is merely proper public land management done for the citizenry's benefit. Nice word there, citizenry. We're all part of the citizenry, even the homeless, but they shouldn't have a right to demand from the rest of the citizenry that we provide them a bed and housing. But indeed, the Supreme Court expressly rejected the right invented by the Ninth Circuit in at least two separate decisions. Lindsay versus Normay ruled that the Constitution does not guarantee the indigent the right to a home. Clark versus the Community of Creative Nonviolence ruled that the Constitution does not guarantee the homeless a right to sleep on public property. Moreover, the court later held in Cadmus and Dickinson, Cadmus, I'm not sure how to pronounce that, versus Dickinson's public school, along with several other decisions, that the Constitution does not oblige the government to dispense public welfare benefits of any type. But hey, the Ninth Circuit Court judges who joined this opinion obviously live in their own maxiom. Go big or go home. If you're going to ignore the Supreme Court decision, what's 2 of 3 or 4 more, right? And that's the Ninth Circuit Court. They keep ignoring what the Supreme Court is telling them to do. But this is going to come out in the Supreme Court. And I'm willing to bet that the Supreme Court is going to say that there is no right, that communities have to provide beds and room and board, basically, for the indigent who want to sleep on public property. And yes, you should have the right, or the city or law enforcement of the city or counties should have the right to remove these people. They have every right in the world to get rid of these people. And it's ridiculous that the Ninth Circuit Court ruled any other way. But here's the problem with Oregon. Oregon is so screwed up. What can I tell you? You know it. You live here. Oregon is so screwed up that we passed House Bill 311. House Bill 311 deals with homelessness and public space. And I'm going to read this article. This is from the League of Oregon Cities. Following recent federal court decisions, cities and counties must reconsider must reconsider local ordinances regulating public spaces and homelessness. In 2021, the Oregon legislature, who is made up of a bunch of idiots, enacted HB House Bill 3115, which created a state statutory standard based on federal court decisions in Martin versus Boise and Blake versus Grants Pass, and directs cities to consider their local ordinances within the context of available local shelter services in public space. The LOC, that's the League of Oregon Cities, has published legal guidance and resources to support the implementation of HB 3115. It was a bad law. All of the conservative Republicans in the House, they voted against this law, but it doesn't matter. The Democrats control the legislature, and this is what we got. So even if the Supreme Court passes or decides that cities or counties do not have to provide housing for the homeless, guess what? Oregon has it in law. And so we may have to do that anyway. We may not be able to live by the decision that's made by the Supreme Court. I'm not sure how this is going to play out, but I continue reading from the League of Oregon Cities website. It says HB 3115, which was passed in 2021, local camping ordinances, that's what it dealt with. HB 3115 is the product of a work group involving the League of Oregon Cities and the Oregon Law Center, as well as individual cities and counties. The work group spent many hours crafting a concept that recognizes a key principle from the recent Martin versus City of Boise Ninth Circuit Court decision and Blake versus Grants Pass Federal District Court decision, which those decisions said, hey, you, the public, you, the citizens, have to pay for these drug derelicts to have a home so that they can go there, destroy the home, do their drugs. And that's what we're getting out of the League of Oregon Cities and the Oregon Law Center. It's absolutely ridiculous. And it ticks me off that we have these organizations that live off of our taxpayer funds, and they're doing nothing but destroying the property owner. The property owner, once again, the producer of the wealth of this state, is being punished because of the people who are not producing. These are the people who are they're the scavengers. They're the parasites. And these parasites are living off of all the rest of us. And for some crazy reason, I don't know why a person can decide to go out and destroy their life, and they get to destroy our quality of life as well. But that's what the Ninth Circuit Court had decided. HB 3115 requires that any city or county law regulating the acts of sitting, lying, sleeping, or keeping warm and dry outside on public property must be objectively reasonable. Yeah, who gets to define that? But based on the totality of the circumstances as applied to all stakeholders, including persons experiencing homelessness, what is objectively reasonable may look different in different communities. You're damn right, because in my community, which is a really bad term, community is just a way to implicate all of us in bad decisions. But here in Bandon, we probably wouldn't, as individuals, we would have disagreements on what is objectively reasonable for homeless people. In fact, my objective opinion would be that you don't get to sleep on public property. You don't get to sleep on school property. You don't get to sleep in our parks. You don't get to sleep on the sidewalk. And if you are caught sleeping there, you get a swift kick in the ass, and we show you the edge of town. Here you go. Here's where Bandon ends. You find the other side. That, to me, would be objectively reasonable. A lot of people in Bandon, no, they think that we, the producers, should produce all kinds of money and all kinds of wealth so that we can house strangers who aren't even willing to take care of themselves. That's right. You are now responsible to take care of people who aren't even willing to take care of themselves. And you would think that any logical person would think that's crazy. That's just a crazy idea. But unfortunately, we've got stupid people. We call them leftists. We call them commies. We call them Democrats. But these stupid people, they think it's a good idea to continue to allow the producers of society to be harmed by the derelicts of society. But I continue with what the League of Oregon city's website said. It says the bill retains cities' abilities to enact reasonable time, place, and manner regulating, aiming to preserve the ability of cities to manage public spaces effectively for the benefit of the entire community. You know what? I don't live in any community. I'm an individual who lives in a city, who lives within a county, that's within a state, that's within a nation. And I don't live in whatever freaking community these people make up. Once again, community is just a word to make you culpable for the actions of the mob. It's a bad idea. It's a very, very bad idea. And if we don't stop it, if we don't stop this soon, it's going to be a situation where they're just going to keep requiring more and more of the producers. And that's what these derelicts of societies, they're going to become privileged people, and they're going to be getting used to all of these privileges, all these extra extraneous rights that are now being provided by the stupid ruling of the Ninth Circuit Court. And we got to stop this. And hopefully the Supreme Court will rule against it. But the problem is that Oregon, because we're so stupid here, and I don't mean that as in you're stupid or I'm stupid. We're probably intelligent individuals. If you're listening to this show, you're probably a pretty intelligent individual. But there are people out there collectively as a state who think that it's a good idea to take from the people who produce and give it to people who don't even take care of themselves. And so I don't know where the Supreme Court ruling is going to go, because like I said, HB 3115 requires every city and every county to provide a bed for these homeless bums, or they're allowed to sleep and lie and sit wherever the hell they want. And I'm just one of those. I think that's a bunch of bullshit. I don't know about you, but that's just my thought on this. Now, I want to go to how this affects our tax levy. Our tax levy, I don't think it, like I said, that it doesn't matter how much money we get to the jail. It doesn't matter how much money we get to the sheriff's department or the DA's department. We've got laws in Oregon that have sabotaged, have ruined the entire justice system. It is just completely sabotaged it. But one of the things that really is upsetting to me is we've got a commissioner who I helped get elected. You all know Rod Taylor. And Rod Taylor took the position when he ran in 2022, he took the position, and I'm going to read it for you right now. This is from the World newspaper, and this is what he said at the League of Women Voters Forum. He says, they asked the question, what is your position on county measures for a jail levy? And this is what Rod Taylor said. He said, I believe there are other ways to provide adequate funding for the jail. Taylor said, the problem is these measures were not undertaken early, so we have come up with these problems. So an emergent measure is another tax that comes to the fore. I don't support the levy, but I do support law enforcement and the jail, and there are other ways to fund the jail. Now, that was candidate Rod Taylor. I supported candidate Rod Taylor because he was saying things like that. Of course, now he doesn't say things like that. He talks now like Commissioner Taylor. And, I consider Rod a friend, but it's just very upsetting when politicians, and now I put Rod into that thing of being a politician, when they run for office, they're saying one thing, and then they get into office and they say another thing, and their excuse is, well, I didn't know the entirety of the situation. And so now that I know, governance is much different than running a campaign. And I have to call BS on that, because nobody in their right mind thinks that it's a good idea to continuously putting more taxes on the people. In fact, Rod was great about this. He used to talk about all the senior citizens who are living on fixed incomes, all the people who are on disability who are living on fixed incomes. And Rod would say, I don't want to pass a tax because many of those are living on the edge of not being able to pay their tax bill. What happens when they can't pay their tax bill? Well, eventually the county, the tax man, the county assessor, well, they have to come and send them a nasty notice saying, hey, you're in default. And eventually, if you continue to be in default for a certain period of time, they can take your property. This is a very serious situation. And this is why I'm opposed to this tax levy. And Rod Taylor was opposed to the tax levies back in 2022. I don't know what in the world has changed his mind, but he claims that because he's now a commissioner, he sees the totality of the situation and that governance is much different than campaigning. Okay, that's your reasoning, but even if I was a commissioner, I would have voted no on that tax levy, and let's let the situation happen that where we're not going to have the money to fund our county jails, we're not going to have the money to fund the DA, and I can tell you right now, we're not going to be any less safe than if we had that money. Why? And I'll tell you why. Because the justice system has been sabotaged. Like I said, you can give them all the money in the world. It doesn't matter. It's not going to fix a thing. And then here's what Cribbins said. And this is funny because what Cribbins' answer was to that question sounds kind of like what Rod's answer to the question is now that he's commissioner. I'm going to read this. He says, this is Melissa Cribbins when she was commissioner. She says, I am in favor of the jail levy. I can tell you our county commissioners over the last 10 years have pinched every penny until it screamed. Unfortunately, inflation has outpaced the property tax increases, so we have gotten behind in what we can pay our deputies. There is no additional money to pay deputies more. We would love to be able to staff 150 jail beds. We currently budget for 98, and we fund that. So they fund the 98 jail beds, but of course, at that time, they only had 48, and we still only have 48 until just recently when they opened up the jail to the 98 beds. They say with the tax levy, they'll be opening that up to 150. I call bullshit on that. I don't think they're going to have the money to do that because the county continues to spend its money on higher and higher wages, which goes higher for the PERS. And yes, inflation is going up, but inflation is going up for everyone. So I don't know. Rod Taylor is sounding more like Melissa Cribbins than he does sound like candidate Rod Taylor. And I myself, I have a huge problem with this. I just don't think it's right that you run for a campaign, you run for a position, and then within a year and a half, I think it's only been a year and a half. Yeah, it's been about a year and a half. All of a sudden you flip and you change positions. And I've heard his reasoning behind it, but his reasoning sounds just like Melissa Cribbins. And that's why a lot of us voted for Rod and not for Melissa because of the answer she gave in 2022 at the League of Women Voters about the tax levy they were trying to pass then. And by the way, the tax levy they were trying to pass then was 49 cents per 1,000. This levy is now 99 cents per 1,000. What's the average house cost in Coos County? I'm willing to bet the average cost of a house is anywhere between $250,000 to $300,000. So if that's the case, you're going to be paying another $250 to $300 for your tax bill, which, you know, people go, well, if you live in a $300,000 house, then you're pretty well off. Not true. Au contraire, mon frere. Let me tell you, you got a lot of people out there who worked very hard their life, made a lot of good money. They invested it in a house, and now they're living on retirement, and putting more of these taxes on them may put a burden on them, such a burden on them that they can no longer to afford to live in a house that they paid for. And here's the thing. I believe there are several other taxes out there in the city of Coos Bay. I think it's the city of Coos Bay. There are several other districts who also have tax levies on the ballot, and it's going to increase the taxes combined with this county tax. It could almost be a couple of dollars. So you're not just talking 99 cents, you're talking $2 or $2.25. Did you know that right now they have a law enforcement levy that's happening in Curry County, and that law enforcement levy is going to be $2.23 per 1,000. Could you imagine that? $2.23 per 1,000. I don't know about you, but I'm glad I don't live in Curry County. I don't think it's going to pass there. I don't think the levy is going to pass here. And you know what? I'd rather the county hit a brick wall now before my grandchild is paying taxes. Because how long are we going to kick the can down the road? Rod keeps saying that, oh, this is only a 5-year levy. Yep. And then once you get addicted to the money over 5 years, you're going to come back and you're going to say, well, we need to re-up the ante here, and we need to renew the levy and go for another 5 years. And this time, instead of 99 cents, maybe we'll make it $1.50. Who knows? But that's what happens in government. Money is like heroin to politicians. Money is like heroin to government bureaucrats. Let's face it. We should just stop calling money money and call it fentanyl, because that's what they're doing. And in Washington, D.C., they're ODing on the fentanyl, aka money. I mean, they've got a $35 trillion debt, a debt of $35 trillion. I can't do anything about the federal government because the federal government has grown well beyond its means and they need to be shut down. I would like to get rid of 90% of the federal government, but you can't get rid of those bastards because they've just grown too big. So at a certain point, they're going to hit a brick wall, the same brick wall, the fiscal brick wall that the county is about to hit. And I wish the legislature would, or the Washington, D.C., the federal government would hit that brick wall, because I'd rather us hit that brick wall while I'm still alive and can help do something about it before my grandchild gets any older. You know what I mean? You've got grandchildren. You've got children. You may have children who are under 18. Do you want them paying for your debt? Gee, thanks, Dad. Gee, I got you a tie for your birthday. What did you get me for my 18th birthday? Well, you got me a $35 trillion debt. Thanks, Dad. You suck. I don't want to be that dad. I don't want to be that grandfather. I don't want to be the grandfather who has to tell my grandchildren, guess what? I love you, but we now have to sell you as indentured servants to China because we've got a $35, $55, $105 trillion debt. Do you want to do that? I sure as hell don't. So I'm tired of this. And we've got to stop this. So once again, I understand why Rod is saying what he's saying. I understood why Cribbins was saying what she was saying back in 2022. I completely understand it. And there's a lot of people out there who say, well, you just don't understand the complexities of governing. Governing isn't the same as campaigning. We have to live by a practical means. Well, guess what? So the hell do we business owners. Do you think that we have a vault in our business where we can go and grab money every time politicians raise our taxes? We don't. But yeah, surprise, we don't have a secret vault in our businesses where we can go grab money and we can pay for all these taxes, all these luxuries that politicians want to keep wasting our money on. You know, like the war in Ukraine. There's a luxury I don't want to waste my money on. The giving more money to Israel. I don't want them to give money to Israel. I don't want them to give it to Hamas. I don't want them to give it to the Palestinians. I don't want them giving away my money. And that's what they're doing on the federal level. On the state level, they're doing it to create more bureaucrats so that they can teach us critical race theory, diversity, equity, inclusion, and all that crap. I mean, you can cut out all of that crap and save a fortune here on the state level. But I can't reach those guys. I can't reach into Salem's pocket and take my money back. I can't reach into the federal government's pocket and take my money back. But I can reach into the county's pocket and say no more. I'm not going to allow you to take any more of my money, so I'm not voting for this. Now, I know there are some people out there who say, well, Rob, I thought you were against defunding the police. Well, I'm not defunding the police for not supporting this tax. I'm not going to fund a damaged justice system, a damaged justice system that's been damaged on purpose. I'm not going to pay for that. You shouldn't have to pay for that. And it's time to stand up and say, hell no, we're not going to pay for that. And it's not about defunding the police. If the police were allowed to do their job, if the sheriff's department was allowed to do its job, if the district attorney was allowed to do his job, I would be more than happy to fund both of them to whatever they needed. But now that the system has been broken from the top down, not the bottom up. The counties didn't pass these crazy laws that the legislators have passed. No, it was the stupid extremist Democrat legislators and the stupid ass Republicans who go along with these Marxist communists in Salem that have passed these laws. And it's time to stop. It's time to stop. And I'd rather it happen now in my lifetime than, well, you know, it happening in my grandchild's lifetime. And like I said, businesses have to cut people all the time. They have to cut their budgets all the time. Sometimes businesses have to go bankrupt. That's what happens when you have poor management. It's just life. It's just disgusting. Now, I kind of want to switch the gears here. I don't know if you guys have been paying attention. We've got a race coming up. We've got an election coming up. I shouldn't say a race. It's an election. We've got an election coming up, and this is happening on May 21st. And during this election, we're going to pick people from the different parties. I am now a Republican, and I'll be honest with you, I felt much better as a non-affiliated voter. When I was a non-affiliated voter, it was like I wasn't culpable for the actions of my party. And my party, the Republican Party, let's face it, they're a bunch of dumbasses, okay? I mean, I can't stand them. I was out helping yesterday. I was helping Todd Vaughn canvas, and I was the navigator in the van, and there were a couple of other people, Todd Vaughn and another person who was going out talking to people who are out at their house and canvassing. But one of the things that happened is there was this guy who came out of the house, and he said, I ain't voting for any freaking Republicans. I am a Republican, and I'll never vote for a Republican again. And we all agreed with him. The Republicans suck. I mean, the Democrats, they're just evil bastards, and we should just do away with that party because they're Marxist commie bastards. And there's just no doubt about it. You can't even argue against that point. But the Republicans, they're supposed to stand against the Marxists in the Democrat Party. They're not, though. The Republicans, in many cases, are capitulating with the Democrats, and it's really disgusting. And the dirty tricks that they're doing to try to get in office makes you wonder why are these people doing these tricks so they can get in office if they're not corrupt? You have to ask that question. If you're going to be dishonest during the campaign, then how trustworthy are you going to be when you get to Salem? Well, the answer to the question is pretty obvious. You're not. And so this woman here, Christine Goodwin, I don't know what it is about Christine in Republican Party. I mean, you got Christine Drazen, who's, well, she's a dirtbag. I'm being kind. And then you got Christine Goodwin, who, for her voting record, normally I would support Christine Goodwin. She seems like a good conservative. But here she is. She's putting out this pamphlet, and this was a pamphlet that I actually got from Oregon Firearms Federation because they broke the story about this group that she claims has endorsed them called Oregon Gun Owners, I believe is what I'll have to. Oh, I don't have the. Let's see if I have the paper on that. No. But she says that this group endorsed her. And they didn't, because the group didn't exist until Friday. The group didn't even exist, and this is Christine Goodwin. And she says that she's a friend to gun owners and a strong defender of the Second Amendment. And she's the only candidate endorsed by the Oregon Gun Rights Group. Oregon Gun Rights Group didn't exist until Friday on paper. And then on Friday, it appeared, but it's sad that Christine Goodwin feels she needs to lie. There's already controversy if she's actually living in the district that she's running in. She's running against Noah Robinson because Art Robinson, who is the current senator, can't run again. And so his son is running. I support and endorse Noah Robinson. I think he's going to continue the tradition of his father and tell the Democrats to go pound sand with all their bad legislation. I think this is going to happen. I think this is going to be a good idea. But Christine Goodwin, and then she supposedly lives in my district, in David Brock Smith's district, or what I like to call the douchebag senator, and she should have ran against David Brock Smith. But no, she's decided to join up with the David Brock Smith Good Old Boy Club. And Christine Goodwin now is what I consider someone who is untrustworthy because she's creating these phony groups. And we know that she's creating these phony groups because if you look at the screen, you see Christine Goodwin in that pamphlet that she sends out talking about how she's a friend of the Second Amendment and a strong defender of the Second Amendment, a strong friend of gun owners. And Well, she lies about the group who endorses her. This is one of the things she sent out, talking about how she's being attacked by the Robinson campaign, and that they're attacking her because they're making up these lies. This, I'm sure, it's misinformation. That favorite word that David Brock Smith likes to put out there. It doesn't really mean anything. He's he comes up with this BS all the time. If he doesn't like your opinion, all of a sudden what you're saying really isn't a lie. It's just misinformation, no matter how true it is. It's just misinformation. You're a fat bastard, David. Well, it's just misinformation. Well, Christine Goodwin, she's decided to put out this notice, and this notice was very interesting. It says, as you probably are aware, or as you are probably aware, we have been under continuous attack from the Robinsons clan, John West, and people who are just hell-bent on making sure nothing changes in Oregon for Republicans. My message of winning and bringing real change to Southern Oregon is a threat to the status quo. There is no threat, just winning. I think with good representation, Southern Oregon can be a real diamond in Oregon. And my question to Christine would be is what? You don't think Art Robinson has been a good representative? I think Art Robinson is the standard bearer of good representation. I think he's been an excellent representative. And to be perfectly honest with you, Christine, if I had to choose between you and Art Robinson or you and Noah Robinson, Christine, I'm going to take Noah Robinson because I know the family and I know their core principles. You are now a liar. You're creating groups out of thin air. You're just pulling this gun owner rights group right out of your ass. And it's just absolutely disgusting. Here it is in the Beacon. And by the way, she claims that Art Robinson and his clan is attacking him. But the fact is people like Kevin Starrett, people like me, people like Ben Edel, and people like David Jakes from the Beacon, the Roseburg Beacon, we're the ones attacking you, Christine, because we're asking the question, what the hell is on your mind there? It says in this article, from the Beacon, it says Goodwin claims endorsement by a phantom gun rights group. And it's true. She has claimed an endorsement by a phantom gun rights group. Why? I don't know why. I mean, that just, what the hell's the matter with you, Christine? And I don't know. It just makes me wonder about these politicians. It's like, and I go back to Rod Taylor. I loved candidate Taylor. Commissioner Taylor, he's a friend of mine, but I got to critique him. I got to criticize him a little bit. And then I got these Republicans like Christine Goodwin, who I've never met. And she seems like she would have been a good person. But, she's lied about her residence, allegedly. And now she's lying about this phony gun group. Who the hell is going to vote for this bitch? Okay? I'm sorry, but damn, woman. What do you expect of the people here? How do you expect us to pick someone who's making up bullshit as it goes along? Now, if you look here, this is from the website, the gun owners' rights website, and it says Oregon Gun Rights is the name of the group, Oregon Gun Rights. And if you read the bottom of the picture, it says, the right of the people to bear and keep arms shall not be infringed. Do you hear anything wrong with that sentence? The right of the people to bear and keep arms shall not be infringed. Okay, Christina, if you're such a defender of the Second Amendment, you might actually want to know what the Second Amendment says. It says, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. That's keep and bear, not bear and keep. What the hell's the matter with these people? They can't even get the Second Amendment right, and they want us to vote for them. But here's the interesting thing. This group didn't exist until Friday, and I know you probably can't read that. It's hard to read on the screen. But right there from the Oregon Secretary of State's website, Tim Knope's son, Reagan Knope, and I remember when Reagan was just a little boy and Tim would bring him to the legislature and to the meetings sometimes. He'd bring him to the Republican meetings, and he was just a little boy. He was a cute little thing. Well, now he's turned up to be a shill for really bad Republicans like this Christine Goodwin. And like I said, I've never met Christine Goodwin, but just by these 2 acts alone, allegedly lying about where you live so you can be in another district, and now falsifying the fact that a gun rights group endorsed you that didn't exist until Friday. I have a huge problem with that. I have a real huge problem with that. And I think the voters are going to have a problem with that. And I hope the word gets out, because once again, Christine Goodwin, instead of running in the district she actually lives in, District 1, running against David Brock Smith, the douchebag senator, what does she decide? She runs against the most conservative senators in the entire state, Art Robinson, and she says, well, we don't want to change the status quo. I like the status quo of Art Robinson. I like the status quo of him standing up to the Democrats. You probably are going to compromise like David Brock Smith, putting tampons in the boys' bathroom, turning over our Elliott Forest to the Climate Change Club. Yeah, those kinds of things. That's what David Brock Smith did. Are you going to do that, Christine? Because if that's what you're going to do, I definitely don't want you. But it's very disgusting that you actually participated in this. And so I don't know. I think some bad things are going to happen, like you're going to lose the election. I think that's what's going to happen, Christina. And I'll tell you what, I'm going to get to the next story, but I got to check my comments here. Let's see what we've got. Let's see. Alex says, hi, I'm from the woods. That's good. That's good. If you got a lot of trees out there, you may want to chop them down while you still can. Alex also says they will eventually tax us to death. Yes, they will, Alex. They will eventually tax us to death. That's the goal, to tax us to death. They want to take everything from us, and when they have nothing left to take, they will just brush us aside like trash, and that will happen. Oregon Outlaw says the two-headed snake. I'm not sure what he was commenting on there. Michaela. Hi, Michaela. Glad you're listening to the show. Oregon Gun Rights. Yes, that was the group. It just completely went out of my head. I had the group. I was thinking of it, and it just went out of my head. Oregon Outlaw then says she wants some of that California Democrat money. Yes. It sounds like Christine Goodwin wants some of those Tuttle tokens. Yes. Then he's referring to Thomas Tuttle, the billionaire San Franciscan Democrat who keeps voting in both states, who's also the sugar daddy to David Brock Smith. Yes. Very disgusting. Trolls. What was I talking about next? Trolls. You got trolls? Here, Oregon Outlaw. He explains what he was saying here. He says the two-party system is nothing but a two-headed snake. Yes, it is. The two-party system is a two-headed snake. In fact, that's why I'd like to get rid of all political parties. If you want to have a political party, it has to be a private party of your own, and we are just all going to run candidates as candidates, nonpartisan. They get up there, they tell us what they believe, which is probably nothing but lies and bullshit when they're up there talking to us. And then we vote for them. And after we vote for them, if we find out they're liars, then we can skewer them justly. And so, I agree with you. The party system sucks. And that's why I hate being a Republican. I really hate being a Republican. It feels dirty. It's just, it's like you can't wash it off. You can't, once you're registered as a Republican and you decide to get into the fray, you can't wash it off. And the only reason I became a Republican is so I can vote against the David Brock Smith and people like Court Boyce who are Republicans, and try to put good Republicans in there who aren't going to take Tuttle tokens. But, that happens. So yeah, the two-party system sucks. I don't know what to do about it. I'll be talking about that in later shows. But trolls, you're on social media, you're on Facebook, you're on Twitter. You probably got trolls if you're an actual real conservative or libertarian. If you're a libertarian or a conservative, you believe in less government, lower taxes, then you've got trolls. What's worse is when you have trolls who are fellow Republicans. And I've got a troll on my Twitter page. This is her. Her name is Coco. I call her Cocoa Puffs for short because I think she's as nutty as a fruitcake, and which is better than Cameron Langley, who's fruitier than a nutcake. But she's nuttier than a fruitcake. And I'll tell you, Cocoa Puffs, I call her Cocoa Puffs because she works for Ed Deal, the representative Ed Deal, and that means she takes money from me. So she's all puffed up on my tax dollars. And then what does she spend her leisure time doing? She comes and trolls my Twitter page. And normally when I have trolls, I don't waste my time with trolls. What I normally do is I immediately block them because I have freedom of association. I mean, I won't deny anyone their freedom of speech. If you have a Twitter page, speak all you want. In fact, I don't go to anyone else's Twitter page and attack them on their Twitter page. I never do that. I've never done it to anyone, even David Brock Smith or this Coco chick. I've never gone on their page and attacked them. These people are attacking me. And Coco came to my page, her and let's see, she had another friend. She had another crony of hers. Angela is laughing, I think the name of the handle was. And well, now I'm laughing at Angela because I blocked the bitch, okay? She kept trolling me and annoying me by making all kinds of rude comments. And so I just blocked her. It just wasn't worth dealing with this person. But this Coco chick, she actually works for me. I pay her salary. She works for Ed Deal, that's Representative Ed Deal. He calls himself the real deal. Well, he must be cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs because Cocoa Puffs likes harassing people on social media. And she's got a following of 28,000 followers here. 28,000. I think I only got 500 plus followers on my Twitter page. I'm just a mere human mortal. That's all I am. But she's got 28K. She's got a significant following. And so she puts out some pretty crazy stuff. And I thought I'd read you some of this crazy stuff. Here, I will put this up on screen. This is one of her posts. Read along if you like. It says, this is from Coco. It says, a large number of Oregon conservatives want to pack our Republican caucus with America First Republicans, or MAGA. But Oregon is not red, and if you want change this state for the better, you must strategically move in with moderate R's in purple districts. Running a MAGA Republican in a purple or blue district is political suicide. They will not win, and we won't see change. Conservative voters here get mad and refuse to vote because they think our elected Republicans are rhinos, but they aren't. They are actually R's that understand that in order to have a few wins for their constituents in a Democrat stronghold, they have to compromise on some issues. The alternative is to ignore the needs of their constituents and not even try to work with the Democrats at all, which is honestly petty as hell, childish, and frankly, not doing their job, Coco says. And I know you don't want to hear it, but bipartisan bills are actually good for this state because they give everyone a voice. And it means your elected officials, elected Republicans, are working their asses off to pass amendments for you. All that said, I'm begging Oregon conservatives to stop going after perceived rhinos and understand the situation. Oregon is not Alabama. Accept that fact in play to actually win, bring balance to the legislature, and end Democrat corruption the smart way. Thank you, says Coco. Coco, you're a moron. This is why people are not voting for Republicans. This is why I became a non-affiliated voter, because I got tired of supporting Republicans like Dick Anderson. Oh, limp Dick Anderson. Yes, I've actually had to apologize to people for asking them to vote for Dick Anderson. That's how badly he is hated in our district. He's the senator for Coos Bay, Northern Coos County. And I helped to get him elected. The campaign literally had to drag Dick Anderson across the party, and Dick Anderson is doing nothing but compromise. He votes for climate change bills. He votes for the homeless industrial complex, all that compromise you're talking about. Yeah, compromise is bullshit because you can't compromise with tyrants. You can't compromise with communists. You can't compromise with the leftist extremists, Coco. And remember, Cocoa Puffs, she's not a big supporter of Trump. She says she will vote for him. She will hold her nose and vote for Trump, but she's not a big supporter of Trump. And this woman is working for your money. She gets paid off of the tax dollars to be, I don't know, Ed Deal's secretary. I don't know. Maybe she's taking dictation. I don't know what the woman does. I would have her cleaning bathrooms if she worked for me, but that's just me. And I probably wouldn't hire her because, well, anyone who would put out a statement this stupid doesn't deserve to have a job. And so I myself, I saw this message and I thought, what can I do about it? Well, I've got a podcast. So let's broadcast this message on my podcast. And that's what I'm doing right now so that you people can see the people behind your representatives. This lady is working for Ed Deal, and she thinks it's a better idea for the Republicans to compromise. Remember when David Brock Smith compromised and we got tampons in the boys' bathroom? Remember when he compromised and he voted for the homeless industrial complex several times? He's voted for bills that had CRT in it. He voted for bills that had DEI in it. He voted for bills. He sponsored a bill that would bring in the windmills, and then he lied about it. That's compromise. That's compromise, and that's the death knell to our country. We have compromised enough. Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, that bastard just compromised with the Democrats, compromised with the Biden administration, and just gave away our Fourth Amendment rights. When he approved the FISA funding, he literally gave away our Fourth Amendment rights. I don't know. Maybe you like that, but I myself, I like the Fourth Amendment. In fact, I like all the amendments, except that 19th Amendment. But we'll talk about that later. But Cocoa Puffs here. Cocoa Puffs, she thinks that we can just compromise and it'll be okay. It's what brings in the bacon. So I don't know. This is the people who are working for you. These are the people who are working for these representatives, and I'm pretty damn sick of it. I think it's disgusting. And who's she supporting? Yes, this fat bastard here. It was funny. I heard the Republican Party, the local Republican Party, the Coos County Republicans, they just had their meeting this past Thursday, and they actually had a slideshow where they went after me, Diane Rich, and Danessa Rains because we are going against David Brock Smith. Why? Because, well, he's a Nazi bastard. As you can see by the picture. You love the hat? You love the background? Well, that's David Brock Smith. Go ahead, David. Send me a cease and desist letter, and I'll do what I did with the last cease and desist letter. I'll use it for toilet paper. That's right. Yeah, this fat bastard thinks he can scare me. He actually threatened to sue me for sharing an article and sharing memes. This is how much of a fascist fat pig David Brock Smith is. He thinks that he can scare his enemies and beat them into submission by suing them, this lawfare. This is exactly what the enemies of Donald Trump is doing. They're trying to silence him. They've been pretty successful at a certain point of silencing Donald Trump, which is a Herculean attempt, to be able to silence Donald Trump. I mean, the man, I don't know how anyone can silence him. But David Brock Smith here, he's a fat bastard. Yes, I'm willing to bet he probably has a German outfit at home that he wears with leather boots and a riding crop, walking around pretending like he's the Fuhrer. I'm willing to bet that's what David does. Go ahead, David. Send me the cease and desist letter. He's one of my biggest fans. He watches the show, obviously, because, like I said, the Republican Party did the slideshow here in Coos County at the Republican meeting at their headquarters in the mall. They did this slideshow where they were playing clips of my show, not only just this show, but from my radio show and the horrible things I said about David Brock Smith. I stand by what I've said about David Brock Smith. The sign that we put up where, that said David Brock Smith made in China, he is made in China. Why? Because those windmills, more than likely, we don't know for sure, but more than likely are going to be made in China. But that's irrelevant. Just the fact that David Brock Smith voted for a windmill bill that would bring the windmill project here to Coos County means he's doing something that benefits the Chinese government to the detriment of America by weakening our energy grid. These windmills, they're unreliable. They're unpredictable. We don't even have the technology to build it. And then he has the nerve to send people like Coco after me, after Danessa, after Diane Rich. He sends Coco and trying to say that Danessa is going to make a fortune off these windmill projects. Danessa Rains, whose father owns DB Western. His name is Dennis Beetham, hence the name DB Western. They have done research in offshore windmills and have come to the conclusion they're not beneficial because they're not energy efficient. So they're not going to make anything off this project, but that doesn't stop David Brock Smith and Coco from lying about a bunch of people who've been nothing but beneficiaries of beneficial to the Republican Party. In fact, Dennis Beetham bailed out the Republican Party, the entire state party. Dennis Beetham bailed them out by loaning them money. Actually, he gave them money to pull them out of debt when Dallas Hurd was the chair. That's what Dennis Beetham has done. Dennis Beetham used to give money to the local Republican Party so that they could rent their headquarters. Well, he's stopped doing that. Why? Because, well, they've gone after him by backing this fat bastard, David Brock Smith. And I've got a new video. You guys like videos? I know it's on a disgusting topic. It's about David Brock Smith, but I think you're going to enjoy this new video. I'm going to play it here for you, and you can tell me what you think.
And we are going to open up a public hearing on Senate Bill 678. Go ahead.
Chair Lieber, Vice Chair Knob, committee, for your record, I'm Senator David Brock Smith from Senate District 1, which includes Curry, Coos, and Douglas counties. I'm here today to bring you Senate Bill 678, and I want to thank Vice Chair Knob for actually sponsoring this for me and with me. You might remember, colleagues, back in 2021, I moved and we all passed a piece of legislation that was House Bill 3375. Because we know that the Bureau of Ocean Energy Management has designated 2 call areas off of the Oregon coast, off of my district, Senator Anderson's and Representative Boyce's district, Senator Anderson's and Representative Wright's district in Southwest Oregon. It is optimum for wind generation, and there's great opportunities for the energy to be produced there. What you see here and what you might have seen in former Governor Brown's letters to BOEM is that any energy produced off of Oregon needs to come to Oregon, which only helps with the energy resiliency that we need on the South Coast. Now, mind you, we passed the last bill because ODO absorbed it into its budget. When California's lease areas were moving forward, they spent nearly $100 million on the planning process. And so it's critically important that Oregon be prepared. Specifically in Section 2, allows the department or DLCD may engage or consult a consultant to support the department in carrying out the provisions in this section. That is language because we were able to get Oregon Solutions and engaged in a preliminary work and outreach in this area. But I'm hopeful that we can move this forward. I did have a preliminary conversations with the governor's office about this, and there's no opposition there as well.
Chair Lieber, Vice Chair Knob, thank you. Rules Committee. For the record, my name is Court Boyce, State Representative, District 1, Curry, parts of Coos and Douglas counties. When I first looked at this 4 years ago, I had a friend tell me, hey, offshore wind is coming to Southern Oregon. So that really got my interest. I went, started really following BOEM and went on their task force for a couple of years. I got involved with a couple of Coos and Curry County alliances. One was from a couple of different tribes. The other one was alternative energy experts. And that one of the key people on that group was former Secretary of State Bill Bradbury. And so that got my attention, of course. I learned a lot from him in that committee. And I'll never forget the quote he made, and that was, Southern Oregon on the coast is the Saudi Arabia of wind power. And so, Oregon wants climate, natural climate energy solutions. Compared to what California, at that time we were equal to California 4 years ago, compared to the millions of dollars that they've put into their research and development. This is a very small but very important investment, and I encourage you to highly consider a yes vote on Senate Bill 678. Thank you.
All right. If you just watched that video and somehow you still think that Court Boyce and David Brock Smith were not supporters of the wind turbine project that the Bureau of Ocean Energy Management was planning on putting off the coast of Oregon, you're either brain dead or you're lying to yourself. I don't know what to tell you. These guys supported it. I know they supported it. I know them. I've known them a long time, and David Brock Smith has been supporting wind energy going back 10 years. And now he's lying that he supported about wind energy and trying to make himself as some kind of genius because there was a study in HB 3375 that somehow was going to slow down or stall this project. Well, guess what? This project has not been stalled or slowed down one iota. Not one iota. David Brock Smith lied. Why did he lie? Because if you watch that video, you know he supported the windmill project. So did Court Boyce. I saw Court Boyce at a meeting I think it was in February. It was about the HCP. And he got out of the car and we approached him and we said, Court, did you hear about these wind turbines? And he goes, isn't that a great deal? The Biden administration is going to pump all kinds of federal money in here. And we looked at him like he was nuts. We go, are you kidding? Are you kidding? This is going to destroy our fishing industry. This is going to destroy our oceans. This is not going to provide energy to what we are subsidizing this project with tax dollars. It's not going to provide the energy that we are requesting are going to need when we take out all these dams, when we get rid of coal, when we get rid of natural gas. Wind is not going to make up the difference. Wind is unreliable. And these windmills, they don't last very long. And they're detrimental to whales and other sea life, to birds. But David Brock Smith don't care. He's a politician. Court Boyce don't care. He's a politician. And they're Republicans. And that's what compromise got you. Remember Coco and the message I just read you? Well, there you go. There's the compromise. And if you somehow still don't believe it, I've got another video for you that I've played before. Maybe this will convince you.
House Bill 3375, relating to floating offshore wind energy and prescribing an effective date.
Question now rises upon third reading and final passage of House Bill 3375A. Representative Brock Smith.
Madam Speaker, colleagues, I'm excited to bring you House Bill 3375. I think this is potentially one of the other great bills of this session. House Bill 3375 is going to set up a planning with the Oregon Department of Energy to look at working with BOEM and other federal agencies on 3 gigawatts of offshore wind by 2030. Colleagues, as being part of the Environmental and Energy Committee since becoming a member of this legislative body, I can't tell you how enthusiastic I am about the possibility of moving forward not only with this offshore wind opportunities and the investments that are coming from the federal governments under the Biden administration, but the opportunity to possibly power from that offshore wind a renewable hydrogen facility in the port of Coos Bay. And at that point, having the state of Oregon being an energy exporter rather than an energy importer. So this idea transcends other legislation that we have in this body, but the planning needs to start now. Senator Beyer has Senate Bill 333 that looks at planning for those hydrogen facilities. The president has said he wants to see 50 of those renewable hydrogen facilities around the nation, and we have a great opportunity to actually fund renewable hydrogen, fund renewable hydrogen with federal help, but power it with other renewable energy. And some people have asked, well, Representative, why are you bringing this bill forward? Well, I've always believed in renewables and how we can access their energy as long as it's affordable for our residents. But more importantly, in this instance, that wind resource that we have off of Oregon is off of my district. And so the fishers that are going to be impacted by this process, I've been in dialogue with through this process and will continue to be in collaboration with them as we move forward with this process. So colleagues, this is an exciting opportunity for Oregon to get in front of the planning that's necessary to have this resource, and I would appreciate your aye vote. Thank you.
I'd appreciate your aye vote. Why? Because he supported the windmill project. He supports wind turbines project. He wants to bring in that Biden administration money. I've just shown you 2 videos of David Brock Smith in his own words telling you how much he supports the wind turbine project. I don't care what he's saying now. He's either lying now or he was lying then, but that means he's a liar. He can say whatever he wants about me. He can say whatever he wants about DB Western. But the fact is that DB Western, Danessa Rains, they're not my senator. This fat bastard is my senator, and I need to get rid of him. I need your help to get rid of him. And the only way to do that is to support his opposition. You've got 3 other people running against David Brock Smith. You got Ashley Hicks, you got Paul Romero, and you've got Todd Vaughn. Paul Romero, he's politically damaged. I don't think he has any chance of winning. I would like to see Paul Romero up there because I think Paul would he's such an arrogant person that he would go up there and cause all kinds of trouble. I've had him on the show. I've talked to him many different times, and I just think he's just has the attitude where he wants to cause problems in Salem. I just think that because of his actions, he's not politically viable. You got Ashley Hicks. I really like Ashley Hicks, but she's kind of, and this is an offhanded comment. It's not to be mean, but it's actually a compliment. She's a hippy dippy kind of person, which is kind of cool. She's not your regular politician. She's got a little bit more soul than your average politician, but I don't think she can win because she does kind of come off as hippy dippy. And I like Ashley. I think if she was in a northern district, one of those blue or purple districts that Colette doesn't think we could win in, sending a real conservative to Salem, I think Ashley Hicks could do a good job. Here in Coos County and Douglas County and Curry County, I don't think Ashley Hicks is going to be able to pull it off. That's just my opinion. So who do you got left? Todd Vaughn. Todd Vaughn's a logger. Todd Vaughn has taken on government agencies and fought for the right to have better fire protection for the forests. He has stopped bad environmental policies from being enacted. He's on a school board, and he understands what he's up against if he goes to Salem. He understands that in the district he is in, it's a solid red district. It's Senate District 1. It's a solid red district. He don't have to compromise with anybody, which brings up the question, why is David Brock Smith compromising on everything? He doesn't have to compromise on a damn thing, but yet he is. He's kissing the Democrats' ass And he's telling us when he comes back home that, oh no, I never did that. I never kissed their ass. Yeah, you are, David. You put tampons in the boys' bathroom. You turned over the Elliott Forest to the Climate Change Club. You did that. And you sponsored the windmill bill that will facilitate and fast track the windmill project. You did that, David Brock Smith. And that's why I'm fighting against you. That's why I became a Republican, which I really didn't want to do, because I don't like most Republicans either. They're two-faced bastards. But there are a lot of good people in the party. There are a lot of really good people in the party. And over the last couple of months, I found a lot of these good people, good, decent people who are willing to stand up against what's wrong and fight. And so I'm going to stick with it for a while as a Republican. And one of the reasons is on May 21st, you and I and everyone else in the state, we are going to have some decisions to make. And do you want to send people like David Brock Smith back to Salem after watching those two videos? After watching those two videos, and you say, yeah, let's send David back to Salem so he can compromise a little bit more with our money. Well, then there's something wrong with you. I personally can't do it, and I won't do it. So that's where I'm at with that situation. And I know people are probably getting tired of me harping on this one senator and harping on the Republicans, but it's the primary, and it's a short primary, and we have to do it now. At a certain point, I'll pivot away and go after the Democrats as hard as I can. But the fact is we all know the Democrats are dirty, filthy, commie bastards. A lot of people in the Republican Party don't realize how bad the Republicans are in the Republican Party. I just had 6 people who supported me or supported the campaign for Todd Vaughn get recalled in Douglas County. They just kicked out their best people out of the party, their most active, best people out of the party, out of the Central Committee of the Douglas Republican Central Committee, the Douglas County Republican Central Committee, kicked them out because they were challenging David Brock Smith and because they dared to invite me down to talk to me. And so I feel a little responsible for that recall. So I have to dig in and put an R on my back and play with the team for a while. But the fact is there's a lot of bad players on our team, and that man is one of them. And I suggest that if you want to help out, go to toddvaughn.com and check out Todd Vaughn and spread the word. Tell people those ballots are about to come out, and you let them know he's the man you need to vote for. He's not going to vote or compromise for tampons in the boys' bathroom. He's not going to compromise for bills like SB 762, where it creates nothing but new land laws and new land restrictions in the rural area. It was called the mapping bill. And only the first 2 or 3 pages were concerned with mapping. All the other pages, I think there were like 22 of them, all the other pages, they dealt with new regulations. And I believe that it increased the price of our insurance. Has your property insurance gone up? Do you know why? Well, I've talked to a couple of people who are in the insurance agency, and they believe it's part of this bill. There are some who don't. There are some who do, and I don't really know for sure. I'll be honest with you, but I think that you put more regulations on property owners and put more liability on property owners, your property insurance is probably going to go up. That's just my belief. There are others who think differently. So, and you're going to love this next story. You're going to love this next story. Did you see this one with the Oregon Republican lawmakers to visit the U.S.-Mexican border? Yeah, they're sending a bunch of Republicans down to the Mexican border because you want to send people who can't do a thing about the issue down to see the issue and spend more money so that they can come back and say, yeah, we saw it, nothing we can do about it. Number one, there's nothing that the Democrat-controlled legislature is going to allow them to do. And 2, even if they did have a majority or could vote on stuff and get bills passed, there's nothing they can do to stop what's happening at the border. That's a federal problem. That's a federal problem. The only one who could actually do something, any of the states who could actually do something, are the states that are on the border. Oregon's not on the border. I mean, we have a coast, but we don't have them coming over the way New Mexico, Texas, Arizona, they're getting inundated. California is being inundated.
but it's a federal problem. The federal government has to do something about it, and they've had a long time to do things about it. In fact, once again, this is talking about Republicans who compromise. During the Trump first administration, 2016, during his first 2 years, you had Paul Ryan and Mitch McConnell in the Senate, Paul Ryan in the House, and they could have done something about immigration. They could have done a whole hell of a lot about immigration, but did they? No, they didn't. So once again, this is Oregon Republicans going down to the U.S.-Mexico border. What the hell are they going to do? So I sent an email over to the legislative administrator to ask them who the hell paid for this. And here it is, Brian Iverson, who's bragging about what a great group of legislators and candidates ready to tour the southern border and discuss ending Oregon's sanctuary status. They're not going to end Oregon's sanctuary status. What a bunch of bullshit. These Republicans can't even pass good bills to stop homeless people from crapping on your patio, but yet somehow Brian Iverson, in his delusional mind, thinks that these Republicans, and by the way, David Brock Smith is part of this group, is going to be able to go down to the border and come back and convince the Democrats to end our Oregon sanctuary status. Does anyone out there believe that? Anyone? Please let me know if you believe that, because, well, that's just crazy. And, I just laugh. Here's Christine Goodwin. She's already did a photo op. She said Arizona-Mexico border, where more than 50% of the fentanyl in America comes in. And what a weird way to write that sentence. That's Christine Goodwin for you. And she's vying to be a senator, but yet there she is right next to the border. Anyone tell me what this lady can do at the border? I mean, it sounds to me like they're taking, I was just going to say this, Oregon Outlaw. Sounds like they are going on vacation on our dime. That's what it sounds like to me too. I guarantee you, Christine Goodwin and David Brock Smith and all those other legislatures are in the bar in Arizona drinking pina coladas and margaritas. They're just pounding away the margaritas, having a good old time. On our dime. I can guarantee you that's happening. I can guarantee you they're down there, and there was a lunch buffet where they got to eat fancy food, and then they got to go to the bar after they toured the border, like the border is some type of tourist destination. Ay. It's just crazy. Alex, you're absolutely right. Vacation time. Vacation time for Christine Goodwin and company. Yeah, I don't know where we're going here. I've been going for an hour and 42 minutes. I was going to review the voters pamphlet. I was fully intended on reviewing the voters pamphlet, but I don't want to keep you on here too much longer. I've been pulling at your ear for an hour and 42 minutes. I hope you enjoyed the material that I put forward. I have an argument to make, and it's just some of it is my perspective. It's my opinion, and, a lot of people don't like me for it. And Michaela, she says, thank you, Rob. I wouldn't change a thing. I would still invite you to Douglas County to share the truth. And Michaela, that's why I got your back. I know that because you had my back. You had my back when I needed people to believe in me. And it's just absolutely crazy. And Michaela, you're right. Iverson, he's not delusional. He's an opportunist. But aren't they all? Christine Goodwin, David Brock Smith, Court Boyce, they all are very, very much opportunist. And remember, Court Boyce and David Brock Smith, they were appointed to these positions. They didn't win any election. So we're going to be able to decide on May 21st, and we'll be able to see what happens then. Oh gosh, let's go here. Let's go down. Where's my music? Here's my music. Yep. Let's quickly go over my sponsors. 3H Tree Service. I just had Matt Holman on the air, and Matt always does a good job. Matt Holman was on here, and we were talking about all the different things that are going on, and all the different services he provides. If you need someone to take care of those trees, I highly recommend Matt Holman. He's very capable of doing that, very capable of taking out those trees and providing one hell of a service. Highly recommend that. Highly recommend that. And you can reach him at 541-294-1800, or you can go to Facebook. He has a Facebook of the same name, 3H Tree Service. Highly recommend it. Tim didn't call me. I don't know what happened to Tim. Tim, what happened, man? But if you need some of those automobiles needs taken care of, go to Tom and Gigs. Tom and Gigs, they will take care of all your automobile needs. They got an RC cars. They got tannerite. You got some tannerite? Yeah. I'm sure you guys could use some tannerite for something out there. You got squatters? I don't know. Just an idea. Just putting that out there. And of course, Oregon Firearms Federation, Kevin Starrett. He's one badass mofo. That's right, Kevin Starrett is one badass mofo. And I'm proud to call him my friend. And if you want to give someone money who's actually going to do something with it, give it to Oregon Firearms Federation. Don't give it to the Republicans unless you want to give it to a Republican candidate. Give money directly to the Republican candidate's PAC, but don't give any money to the Republican Party. No, they don't deserve it. They haven't earned it. They have really screwed up in the last year. In the last year, and probably longer than that, longer than I've been a Republican. But I wouldn't give them any money. I would take my money. If I had money to give, I would give it to the Oregon Firearms Federation, because they're the only no-compromise gun group in Oregon. They're badass. You'd have to be badass to be a sponsor of my show. And people who are not sponsors, but someone I want to promote, is the Abandoned Gun Club, abandonedgunclub.org. They've got a 5-stand trap. That's right. Got those traps shooting at you from 5 different directions. Woo, 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 woo. Take them out with your shotgun, become very proficient. It's a beautiful thing. And I recommend that you go try it out. Hey, go take the kids. I know some kids out there, they blow me away at trap shooting. Not literally, figuratively. They blow me away. I'm out there trying to shoot these damn traps, and these kids are out there with these $4,000 rifles just picking out these traps. It's really cool. Take the kid out there and teach them how to shoot. The kid would love you if you teach them how to shoot. It's a great father and son, mother and daughter type activity. I highly recommend it. That's the Abandoned Gun Club. Highly, highly recommend it. And if you want to practice with your rifle, someone was telling me, I've been screwing up. I've been saying that they've got a 150-yard range. It's actually only a 100-yard range. Doesn't matter. They give you 100 yards to do your shooting. We're going to try to expand that to 600 yards. I don't know if I could shoot something at 600 yards. I don't even know if I could see 600 yards. But they're going to try to expand that, and one of the ways you can help them do that is by becoming a member at the Tioga Sports Park, and you can catch them at tiogasportspark.org. I highly recommend it. I highly, highly recommend it. And they're having a pin shoot May 18th at the Tioga Sports Park. I'm going to have to go out there. I think I'm going to film there. I'm going to call them and see if it's all right if I come out there and film and see what's going on, because I want to go to this pin shoot and see what's happening out there. Maybe I'll even enter the pin shoot, and we can have some friendly competition going on. I think I would like that. It benefits the Lions organization, and I think they're doing a good job at the Tioga Sports Park. So check this out, May 18th. It's all over their website. You can go and find out what they're doing there. I really appreciate those guys. I mean, anyone who tries to help the rest of us become more proficient with our shotguns, our rifles, and our handguns, those are good people. Good people. Because we may need those weapons at some point in time. Those tools of society. Yes, because an armed society is a polite society. That's what I say. Yeah. And, oh boy, messed that up. So I'm going to come back on here, and I'm going to tell you that this Friday we've got some really good people who are going to be on here. Some more candidates. I think they're good people. I don't agree with their politics, all of them. Chris Castleman, I really like the young man, but Chris Castleman and Drew Farmer, and I'm trying to get Bob Main on here. He's been ignoring my emails. What can I say? Gary made a comment. Yeah, Gary Landry. Please, people, do not vote for this full DDS. Please, don't do it. Yes. Vote like your life depends on it, because it might. You put people like DDS on there, your life might depend on it. I agree with you, Gary. Absolutely. And Alex, he says, thanks for another good show. I'm glad you enjoyed it. We're going to continue it. Next week, I hope to have a guest. Makes my job so much easier when I just get to ask questions. When I actually have to put up all this information and decipher what I'm talking about, I screw up everyone's names, I mispronounce words, and it's not always the best. That's okay. I'm trying, and I appreciate all of you for tuning in. And I'll be back on Friday at 8 o'clock. We're not going to have the Friday night rant. We're going to have a candidate forum. But it's a candidate forum, so I'm willing to bet one of us is going to start ranting. One of us is definitely going to start ranting. That's just it's just my opinion. I don't know. I could be wrong. And if you want to get more information, go to my website at robtaylorreport.com. That's robtaylorreport.com. Go to my website and sign up for my newsletter. Just go to the homepage, scroll down a little bit, and you can subscribe to my newsletter. I send it out every Monday. I don't try to bug people. I just let you know what's on the show and any events that are coming up. And right now, other than the bowling pin event, I don't have any scheduled events that I could have talked about. But you can go and subscribe. And if there are events, I usually post them every Monday and send it out on my newsletter at robtaylorreport.com. I also ask you to like, share, and subscribe to my YouTube, which is YouTube at Rob Taylor Report, and my Rumble at Rob Taylor Report. Please subscribe. And I can always use the support. It always helps out. So until Friday, until we get those candidates in here, you know what I always say? Carry on, America. Carry on.